Mr. Speaker, we learned this week that the Minister of Finance has been keeping a secret from this House. Since the last election, he has held in his possession stocks in Morneau, his billion-dollar family business. His holdings amount to tens of millions of dollars. The Finance Minister has vast powers and long, far-reaching tentacles into all aspects of economic and financial policy in this country. In short, his decisions can make a lot of money for financial companies, like the one in which he had invested tens of millions of dollars. Morneau administers pensions. The Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions, which reports to the Finance Minister, decides who will administer the pensions of bankrupt federally regulated companies. The Finance Minister sets policies to collect $300 billion worth of taxes. The specificity of these tax policies have the potential to help or hinder individual businesses. For example, one policy the government promoted under this Finance Minister would encourage small businesses to put their money in individual pension plans. Morneau, his family business, sells those pension plans. It is one of the unique companies that do so. The Finance Minister proposed a bill creating something called targeted pension benefit plans. Morneau is one of the only companies in Canada that administers targeted benefit pension plans. For example, when these plans were created in New Brunswick, it was Morneau that set them up. And it would be Morneau which would profit from them if we did it at a federal level. And we know this because Morneau has bragged about that fact on its own website. The Finance Minister spoke about it when he was the executive chairman of Morneau. For these reasons, the minister was in an obvious conflict of interest, in a position that he was able to use his powers to profit a company that was monthly paying him dividend checks. According to David Aiken, a respected journalist, that company was paying him $65,000 a month in dividends while he was Finance Minister regulating that same company. Worst of all, he didn't tell anybody outside of the Ethics Commissioner. You know, when Paul Martin was the Finance Minister and he had vast holdings in Canada Steamship Lines, we all thought it was a conflict of interest, but at least we knew about it, so we could debate it, and when he introduced bills that affected shipping lines, we knew what he was up to. This minister told the media he was putting his interests in a blind trust. He told Morneau that all of his holdings would go in a blind trust. He sent out parliamentary secretaries from that government on Twitter to claim that his holdings were in a blind trust. And only after the truth was uncovered by numerous investigative reporters did this Finance Minister finally admit that he still held those shares and that they were not in a blind trust. This minister always does the right thing after he is caught doing the opposite. Mr. Speaker, this conflict of interest allows this minister to enrich himself at the expense of everyone else. He has not lived up to the standards that are expected of someone with his authority. How does his parliamentary secretary defend the actions of this minister?